I have 9 o'clock, and we'll call the July 21st, 2025 Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. At this time, I do recognize we have a quorum. At this time, Vice Chairman Thomas, will you lead us in the invocation?
Let us pray. Most kind and Heavenly Father, we come to you today thanking you for all the blessings in life. We want to thank you for health. We want to thank you for bringing us all here today, God. God, we ask you just to be with this board. Give us the direction that you want us to lead this county. God, be with all our first responders, our people that answer the call in a time of need, God. And we ask you just to be with them people and just give them the knowledge and the know-how to take care of the situation. God, we ask you to be with our soldiers that are watching over us and just be with all of their sick and suffering, God. Be with people who have lost loved ones. And we ask you just to watch over us, forgive us of all our sins, lead us, guide us, and save us. In your heavenly name I do pray. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Werben, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members of the board, you have the agenda before you. Is there any adjustments or discussion of the agenda? Having here none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motions have been approved. Item number 5A, rezoning map amendment RZ-01-25 for Eloyd Munix to rezone .8 acres subject property from a residential R to B1 highway commercial zoning designation. Margaret.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So this morning we do have this request from Mr. Munoz, who I thought would be here but has not yet made it here. This was reviewed by the Planning Board, their meeting in June. And just to get you started, this is at the corner
Margaret,
I'm sorry.
let me go into the public hearing real quick. Do I have a motion to go into the public hearing?
So moved.
We have a motion. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We're now in public hearing. Please proceed.
Thank you. So this is the property at the southwest corner of the intersection of Leasburg Road and DeLong or Robert Morris. There's an existing building there that has been used as a store, from best I can tell from the records, for a considerable period of time. It is surrounded by residential zoning. The outlined parcels here show you the ones that received a written notice. We are required to send a notice to the property owners within 500 feet of any property requesting a rezoning. As you can see from the zoning map, everything around it, save the property across DeLong Road and one further down Leasburg Road, are zoned residential. The other two that I mentioned are zoned B1, which is what the applicant is requesting. While the applicant has stated as a desire to repair and sell automobiles from the location, this is a general purpose zoning, so the commissioners have the entire list of all the permitted uses in the B1. Is he here? Excellent. So the property owner has arrived. I'll just keep rolling through this. And future land use map does show the area as rural. And that's all I have. I will go back, if it lets me, to his site plan. As the commissioners are aware, when you review a rezoning request, you have to take into consideration all the reasons why we do zoning and the best interests of the community, as highlighted in the packet, about providing adequate light and air, overcrowding, undue concentration of population, and so forth. The rural designation is intended to promote and protect agricultural lands and natural resources while allowing low-density residential development. Moving on, the permitted use table has a long list of permitted uses, as you can see. A few things that I wanted the board to just think about as you consider this: the building has been used as a business for many years. The site is considered non-conforming as it is now because it is zoned residential but has a commercial structure on it. The site is rather small, less than an acre, so the redevelopment potential is limited. And the lack of water and sewer services also naturally limits the redevelopment of the site. Excuse me. I had suggested that perhaps guiding principle 3, building a strong environment community to encourage the reuse and revitalization of legacy commercial areas, would be an appropriate provision out of the joint land use plan to rely on. As I said, the planning board reviewed this. They heard from a number of neighbors, and I'm sure a number of them are here today. The planning board did make a unanimous recommendation to not approve this rezoning request. They also encouraged the applicant to submit a conditional zoning request so that the uses on the site could be constrained. So you have the option to do as you wish. You are the commissioners. You have the ability to have the final say on this. There's a sample motion in your packet, and I believe there's an ordinance in your packet as well, but I'll turn the podium over to Mr. Munoz unless you have questions for me.
Do board members have any questions for the planning director? Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
A little nervous, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm standing up here with you guys. So, my goal, if I can, is to go and open up and run this business with my son, since my son wants to be a mechanic. Myself, I already have a business with my family. We have a restaurant in Hillsborough, so we know how to work things up, how to meet things to code and everything. And I want to do the same thing here. If I can, if you guys give me a chance and opportunity to do it, to go ahead and work together with, the cars and with my son too, I get nervous, sorry. Give me a chance to prove that I can help you, and if you guys can help me make this place better, whatever you guys tell me to do, I'll be happy to do it. I know maybe the neighbors are concerned about a few things. I promise you, I will try to do whatever they tell me to do, or meet the codes, the standard, whatever you guys told me to do to this building, and put it into good use if I can.
Okay. Do board members have any questions for the applicant?
Not right now.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, has there any members of the public signed up to speak in favor or against?
No one in favor of it. We do have 2 in opposition.
Okay,
The first speaker is Tommy Yarborough.
Good morning, Board.
good morning.
Tommy Yarborough, I live on Leasburg Road. We're concerned with this thing. I got a couple little things here. I'm not gonna go into detail. I've got a couple little things here to throw at you. This was and still is, as far as I'm concerned, a county store. A country store in the county. There's no water. There's no sewage except for the septic tank line and the well. If these folks decide they want to turn this thing into a garage repair center, we're concerned with oil getting in, petroleum products getting in the ground. This soil behind the store and around the store, it's clay. The soil is actually clay, so it's not very good. It's not very good soil. The other thing is, it's only on 0.80 acres, which is a very small area. As the sheriff was sitting back here to tell you, this is a prone place for accidents. Folks have been killed out there because folks do not know how to slow down and stop for stop signs, for one thing. And by putting another business in that corner is only going to create more issues. Going back to the soil, if this soil is contaminated, there's about 20 houses on DeLong Road. I'm sure the city does not want to, or the county does not want to have to run city water out there like they did on 49 at the highway patrol station. It's a lot of money. We've already got problems here at Walmart today. But anyway, that's really all I've got to say about this. Most of the folks in the area that are very against this because of the fact that it's just not a suitable place for a garage, especially since this is a farming community. We grow tobacco, wheat, and corn out that way, and we don't need any more problems with soil. So appreciate whatever y'all decide. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker we have is Karen Long.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I live on DeLong Road and have for most of my life. And yes, I remember the country store. Rode my bicycle up there all the time. One of the arguments I believe I saw in favor of putting the business in that location was that there are similar businesses in the area so that it would fit right in. And that's part of my issue. Between DeLong Road and the intersection with Burlington Road, there are no fewer than 5 existing locations where there's auto service or bulk auto storage or used car sales. I think that should meet our quota for that type of business in our area. The issue that I'm worried about is once you have approval and they have the business open, there do not seem to be any regulations about appearance, maintenance, how the property is taken care of. You know, one of the businesses on the Leasburg Road already is is intended for auto service, and they do auto service, but it looks like about half junkyard and about half, excuse me, service in progress vehicles. And at the property where the business is asking for rezoning, there's no existing garage, so anything that would be done, either they have to build a garage, or anything that would be done on that property will be done out in the open. No protection from spills and the kind of thing, as Mr. Yarborough said, and no screening from all of us having to see that. So my concern is 2 things, trash and spills and things getting into the soil, but largely it's the appearance. And once they open up, there's no control over what that's going to look like. That's what I have to say.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our speaking portion of the public hearing.
Do board members have any questions while we're still in the public hearing? All right. Having heard none, do I have a motion to come out of the public hearing?
So moved.
We have a motion. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We're now in the public hearing. What is the decision of the board?
Well, I attended the planning board meeting, as I generally do. We have a board of commissioners that I believe all of us have grown up here. And if that property's ever been used for anything other than a commercial use, I don't remember it. The county tax office taxes the property as a commercial property. The county encourages people to follow ordinances, and this applicant is trying to do that right now. As the planning director mentioned, it is a non-conforming use, and this would bring it into a conforming use to do the rezoning. Being at an intersection on a U.S. highway lends that parcel to commercial use. There's another property 3 miles east, zone B1, with a similar use that's twice the size and not at an intersection. The property on the other corner to the east of DeLong Road is already zoned B1. The only property that directly abuts this property without separation by a highway is owned by Mr. Dixon, who came to the planning board meeting and said that he did not have a problem with this being rezoned. He thought it was already a commercial use and was surprised that it wasn't. He only asked that it be kept clean and quiet. There was a concern brought up about traffic accidents, as Mr. Yarborough brought up here. I believe he's the one that brought it up at the planning board meeting. And Mr. Dixon said that the accidents were not caused by the commercial use there, because the accidents happened when there was no business operating there. There was another gentleman there who was in that 500-foot zone that the planning director put up with the blue lines around it, was a Mr. Westbrooks, and he lives to the south of the other corner property that's zone B1. He, like Mr. Dixon, said he was not opposed to it being rezoned because he thought it always had been that, and he had the same desire for it to be clean and quiet, and no opposition other than that. There was one other person in addition to Mr. Yarborough who spoke in opposition, and that was Ms. Tillman. She is within the 500-foot zone. Mr. Yarborough is not. And Ms. Tillman has the property on the other corner across US Highway 158, but her property is on 16 acres, and her residence is more than 700 feet, or about 200 football fields away from this property. She read a letter from another neighbor who was to the west of her, who was further away and not inside the 500-foot zone. So Mr. Yarborough, as I mentioned, is on the other side of DeLong Road from the, he's closer to the property that's already zone B1 than this one. And he's 3 doors down. He has a sign at the road advertising a pressure washing business, and there are other businesses operated along that corridor as well. One of the things that one of the planning board members brought up was a concern of all the uses that fit within a B1. She didn't express a concern about this one, but if it was rezoned, there are a lot of other uses that could apply, such as industrial. But as the planning director mentioned, this is 0.8 acres. It is on, it does not have access to city water and sewer, so that's going to limit the uses that could go there. And in August of 2023, the planning board, which had 3 of the same members that took that vote, as took this vote, voted unanimously to rezone 19 acres at Olive Hill Welding to create a 24-acre B1 use in a residential district that is just 0.8 miles to the north of this property on Samora Road and is not at an intersection. So that is, in fact, is an industrial use and was at the time that they rezoned it. So with all of that in mind, I would ask the applicant to be mindful of the extensive right-of-way there of DOT, and just to make sure when you park your cars out there for sale that you stay within your property line, and be mindful of the visibility at the intersection. I rode out there, and as long as everything's on that pavement, there shouldn't be any issue. And I would make a motion to approve the rezoning map amendment application for RZO 125 for the Munez rezoning request on Leasburg Road to rezone the 0.8 acre subject property from the residential to B1 Highway Commercial District, and find that it is consistent with the adopted Person County and City of Roxborough Joint Use Comprehensive Land Use Plan through guiding principle number 3.2 to encourage the reuse and revitalization of legacy commercial areas to reduce urban sprawl.
All right. Members of the board, we have a motion. Any discussion? I will say, as chair, after reviewing this, I disagree, and I do not find it consistent with the Person County, City, and Roxborough Joint Land Use Plan. That's just my opinion. So, any further discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
All right, let's do a hand count here. All in favor, please vote by raising your hand. Those opposed? The motion fails.
I have that recorded as a 3-2 opposed.
All right. At this time, we will have our informal comment periods. We have a 10-minute segment designated for this period. Madam Clerk, how many speakers do we have signed up?
Mr. Chairman, we have 10 individuals.
We have 10.
Yes, sir.
To be fair, to make sure everyone has adequate time, I will grant 1 minute 30 seconds per speaker on that.
Okay, if I can please instruct IT to please set the timer for 1 minute 30 seconds. Our first speaker is Nancy Horn.
And I would like to remind the audience, please address the board as a whole, not individual commissioners, and please address the board, not the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Commissioners. I'm Nancy. I live in Rougemont, and I wanted to make some comments. So in very recent years, this historic and pristine part of North Carolina, with rich farmland going back generations, has been chosen by global corporations that aren't acting with citizens' best interest in mind. In very much the same way, they scour the world to find untouched and inexpensive places without a thought to impact, focusing only on their bottom line. The Environmental Issues Advisory Board, chaired by Robert Brower of Allensville Township, is the last gatekeeper between the corporate machine and those who may not be able to take time to keep informed on the ways they could be impacted. Bob has been a vocal critic of Mariah Energy Center and is a tireless advocate for the citizens of this county who seem to have been forgotten in this short-sighted attempt to appease corporate interests. I recommend that the board maintain Bob as the chairman and the committee stay. Thank you.
The next speaker we have is Katie Moore.
Mr. Chairman, can we ask that the speakers state whether they live in Person County or not, since Rougemont is split?
Okay. Members that have signed up to speak, please state your address of residence, please.
Okay, hi, my name is Katie Moore. I live at 411 North Lamar Street in Roxborough, so I am a resident of Person County. I am here to speak in favor of the Environmental Issues Advisory Board and to urge you all to reappoint Bob Brower as the chair of that board. Bob has been support to this community and has incredible expertise and thoughtfulness about the environmental issues in this area. He goes above and beyond to inform the community of what's going on. He writes op-eds that are published in the paper. He organizes litter cleanup. He really has taken a lot of his time to be a pillar of this community and cares deeply about what's going on here. I don't really understand why this board would not want someone like that advising you and working to support the community. I understand that there was some discussion of the Mariah Energy Center at the last meeting where this was brought up. Bob is thoughtful and pragmatic, so even if you support industrial uses like the MEC in the community, I really don't understand why you would not want someone like Bob telling you what potential issues might come up. It seems like removing Bob and getting rid of this board is a commitment to sticking your head in the sand about real concerns. So again, I ask you to continue the Environmental Issues Board and to reappoint Bob Brower. Thank you very much.
Next speaker, Sandy Pleasant.
Good morning. I'm here to support the reappointment of Bob Brower to the Environmental Issues Advisory Committee. I was a member of this committee for over 9 years. In fact, I was one of the first of 9 appointed by the commissioners to serve on this committee. And we've had 2 very good presidents, and the one that I'm here to support is Bob Brower. He has been a leader that we needed to keep going forward in this committee. And he's a man of integrity, and I really support him in every way, and I ask that one vote that's needed, I ask that you vote for him to be reappointed. Thank you.
Next speaker we have is Brandy Lynch.
Good morning. My name is Brandy Lynch, and I'm the current Economic Developer Director for Person County. More importantly, I'm a wife and a mother. In 2019, I began working with Person County Economic Development, And in February of 2023, I accepted the position as director. I took the job with the county, which had a budget and a highly qualified county manager. I remember telling the county manager that I kept the department running the same way for months. I felt it wasn't my place to change it. I will never forget when she told me this department was mine and I need to make it what I wanted. Many encouraged me to apply, so I eventually did. Not because I wanted the job, but because my son is type 1 diabetic and the rising cost of medical supplies and other needs were overwhelming. You can ask the county manager today, and that's exactly what I told her. I was interviewed by the county administration and economic development. Today, I wanted to take a moment and tell you a little bit about the department and what we have achieved. The department has a fantastic team. However, with very little time, I won't get to tell you anything about it. I will get to say there's a misconception about economic development. The public may think they are the same, but they're not. To clarify, the EDC is the Economic Development Commission. They're an advisory board of volunteers elected by the Person County Board of Commissioners. The Person County Business and Industrial Center is an organization that Economic Development Department neither is part of or not has any knowledge of anymore. Finally, there's the Person County Economic Development Department. These are three entities are separate, even though some individuals may serve on more than one board. I will skip to my last part because it's the most important. One last thing, to my family, I always put you first. The job has taken so much of my time, me, and for that I'm sorry. It has taken vacation plans, evenings, and holidays, but you have always supported me.
Next speaker we have is Karen Long.
Y'all did a Karen Long twofer this week. Karen Long, 586 D Long Road. I am also here to speak in support of reappointing Bob Brower to the Environmental Issues Advisory Board. Bob very quickly became, to me, the face of the Environmental Issues Board because they have they frequently appear in social media after the committee has organized some sort of volunteer activity or carried out some activity in the county, and always, whether it's picking up trash or giving out books or just whatever other activities they have going on, Bob is always in that picture. He is a tall guy in the back with a big smile on his face. He has had a full and satisfying career, I'm sure, and has decided to service this community, provide service to this community by doing work. He doesn't just show up at his meetings. He is a worker bee. He's dirty and he's sweaty and he's out there working with people in the county and with the committee. And if in addition to that, the information availability to the public is exponentially better than it ever has been. Articles in the paper, articles on social media. And apparently there's part of an issue, the articles on social media. So looking at the bylaws, one of the responsibilities of that committee is to seek ways to educate the public on environmental issues and practices, keep current on developments in their townships, as chair, act as spokesman for the entire organization. It's not just Bob's feelings, it's his committee's feelings. So the other thing that the committee is responsible for doing is adhering to the ethical responsibilities as established by the Board of Commissioners. The complaint about Bob was that...
Ma'am, I'm giving you an extra 30 seconds.
I appreciate that. Let me just finish this one last statement. They feel that the committee does not align with the goals of the board. And the responsibility of the committee is to adhere to the ethical responsibilities of the board. So what exactly are the ethical responsibilities of the board, if it's not to provide information to the public?
Next speaker we have is Cheryl Allen.
Well, now, as a
teacher, I could really get going and go way over my time. I'm Cheryl Allen. I am from this county. I love this county. I taught here for 2 years at South Elementary School, and I moved back to find out how high the cancer rate was in this county, which shocked me. And I have a great view of the stacks on my horizon with the smoke coming out. And I've known about these issues because my parents still lived here and I have many relatives here. And my point of view is that we've got to take care of the environment. You have small children, some of you, and children of other ages. Do you want them to have a clean place to live that's got good air, safe water? I live on the City Lake Road. I forgot to say that. You want your children to have everything that you have and even more. So think about them and think about their future. As a teacher, that's all I ever did for 24 years is think about children and their safety. And when I started serving on this committee, Bob is so laid back, relaxed, easygoing, very smart. He writes wonderful articles and he researches that information. He even got me to write a couple of articles about the litter issues here, and we're one of the highest litter populations, and more money is spent here. We rank 4th out of 100. That's a lot of trash. And why? Why do we have all that trash? He listens to us, and when he finds our interest or we bring up a topic like I did litter and children, I want to get into schools to the children. We now purchase a book every year that's a good environmental book for K through 5. The librarians read aloud and discuss that issue with children so they know what's going on. And you have kids in these schools that are hearing from these books and these librarians and discussing what is pollution and what is litter. And yes, I can pick up litter. Bob supported me on that, and it makes me feel good to know that I could shop every year and purchase a book. We've got one coming out in August that we're delivering. Anything that you're interested in. We had no litter signs in
Ma'am,
this county.
I've given you an extra 30 seconds.
Only 30. Okay. We did not have litter signs in this county when I moved back. There was one in front of Walmart. And so working with the DOT engineer at in Durham, through the DOT, we managed to get 30 signs in our county and spread them out that deal with no littering and keeping North Carolina lean and green and clean. So don't get rid of him. He is a very smart man. He gets us going. He gets us focused. And I don't care what his views are on the MEC. He has a right to have a view on anything he wants to. He's an American citizen. And so am I. And I don't publicly bring my views in front of other people. I'm doing it today. But we really need people like him, and I don't want to see him go. I'm getting emotional. He's a good guy. He's smart. Leave him in the job.
Next speaker we have is Holly Emerson.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Holly Emerson. I'm new to the area. I live on Newton Pleasant Loop Road, so I represent the Bushy Fork Township on the committee. I moved here from Mecklenburg County. My grandmother grew up on a tobacco farm in Henderson in 1901. So I was kind of coming back to my roots. I'm new to the committee. I served in Mecklenburg County for 2 years on the Stewardship Advisory Council, which was an advisory council for Mecklenburg County. I've also spoken with regulators on the Hill about concerns for corporate issues. So I understand the need to educate regulators and inform regulators. And I want to echo what everybody has said about supporting their support for Bob Brower. He's pragmatic. He's really interested in awareness and education. And I think having someone that is so grounded and so intelligent and, understands the issues and listens to people, advise the board is really essential, and I think it would be a mistake to see him go. So, thank you.
Next speaker we have is Bob Brower.
Good morning, all. My name is Bob Brower. Perhaps you've heard of me. I think I've met most of you with the exception of Commissioner Long and Commissioner Thomas. I'd like to thank the folks that came out this morning to show their support for the Person County Environment Committee, as well as our shared environmental in Person County. I want to call out and thank Nancy McCormick for all her leadership and support of the Environmental Committee as our appointed liaison. I'd also like to make a recommendation this morning to the commissioners. If the board has a rule which is so important that violation of that rule would be grounds for dismissing a committee member or failing to reappoint them, then it should be documented. And that rule should then be reviewed by the county attorney and approved by the board. Okay? Similar rules exist today in the Ethicals Responsibilities document. The current BOC approved this document back in January of 2012, and I think it's high time that it's been revised. Thank you.
Next speaker we have is Holly Forrester Miller.
Hello, I'm Holly Forrester Miller. I live at 45 Point Sunset Trail, and I am, I think, the newest, if not one of the newest members of the EIAC, and I represent the Holloway District. And I joined, applied to be on this committee because of Bob's leadership. Talking to Bob about the environment gets you energized and excited. I wanted to make a contribution to my committee and felt like this was a place I could do it because of the way he's running the committee and the way he gets everybody involved and interested in the community. He is highly knowledgeable about environmental issues. He really cares for Person County and Person County's environment. I don't know anybody who knows as much about the environment as Bob. He's a great leader and makes just a great contribution to our committee. He writes most of those articles you see in the News and Observer and then sends them out to us for revisions, unless there's one that we want to write. But they're wonderful, they're informative, and they really educate the public in an important way and offers them options of what they can do to make a difference. He helps coordinate the litter sweeps. You've heard all the things from everybody, and hopefully you all have had a chance to look at our annual report. And Bob is responsible for coordinating and scheduling everything that this committee does, and you should have all received this. So what I really think that to not reappoint him would be a travesty, and I think differing points of view shouldn't be a reason for not reappointing someone. NOMEC actually, as a committee, we advised against that, and just because the board passed it doesn't mean the advisory committee changes its point of view on it. So there's no reason to say because Bob doesn't believe in NOMEC as a good thing for the environment that he should not be reappointed. That doesn't even make sense. And as an advisory committee, I would hope that you'd want people who have differing points of view from yours on the committee to give you advice so you'd have the full picture to look at and then make your decisions about things. Thank you.
Next speaker we have is Amanda Wallace.
Hello. So my name is Amanda Wallace, and I'm the founder of Operation Stop CPS, which is a Durham-based organization. And I'm here today to continue to raise awareness for Kimari Morgan, which is a 1-year-old child that died in the custody of Person County. And so today I want to raise the alarm and really talk about the difference between practice and policy. Right? Policy, North Carolina is governed by the state, and then they pass down jurisdiction to the counties to implement their child welfare policies, right? And this board, some of you on this board, chose to take control of the social services. Therefore, there is no governing board. You are the governing board. And so that's why I'm bringing this concern to you today, right? And so there seems to be a practice in Person County to place children in unlicensed foster homes. That should be a shock to the public trust here in Person County because policy says that children should be in licensed foster homes. But that's not what's happening here in Person County. And there was a motion filed on February 4th, 2025. And this is Kimari Morgan as the child, the juvenile, 1 year old. And it says, for the court to approve the current placement with Letitia Lindsay as an unlicensed home for this child. And it says that Kimari Morgan has been placed in his home since August 1st, 2024. Letitia Lindsay's foster care license has lapsed, Person County Department of Social Services asks that the court approve Letitia Lindsay as an unlicensed home. And what's even more alarming is that the court records show that that Brianna Morgan, Kimari's mother, and her attorney were not present for this hearing. So you guys placed this child here without even his mother knowing about it. And so this is a practice concern.
Ma'am, I'm giving you
Here,
an extra
got
30
you.
seconds.
This is a practice concern. And what is this board going to do? Who is going to be held accountable? I see Brian Hart sitting back there in the corner. He is the Human Service Assistant Director. Who's going to be responsible? Carlton Paler, y'all directors going to keep running this show when y'all have children dying 3 months after y'all filed this motion to leave this child here? Now he's dead.
Ma'am,
Who's responsible?
Your time's expired, ma'am.
Who's responsible?
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our informal comment period.
All right, number 7, discussion adjustment of and approval of consent agenda. Any discussion or adjustment to the said consent agenda? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So
I have a motion. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion's approved. New business, item 8A, advisory boards, committees, county manager.
Good morning, Commissioners. So over the last few meetings, a desire has come up to discuss a few of our advisory boards and committees. The first being the Economic Development Commission. A proposal has been made to amend the organizational structure to provide for the Economic Development Director to report to the EDC. The second being a Human Services Advisory Committee, possibly creating a new committee. And the third, we still have a UDO steering committee kind of on the books, and there has been some discussion about dissolving that committee as its tasks, or the task for which it was created, which was drafting a new UDO, has already been completed. Within your agenda packet, you are provided some background information about the Economic Development Committee. We'll tackle that one first, if that's okay with the board, unless you'd prefer to go in a different order.
That's fine.
Okay. So as background, the EDC was established in 1981. At that time, it was a nonprofit. It was an autonomous body that was responsible to the Board of Commissioners. In April of 1984, Economic Development was established as a county department. So we've had that structure in place since 1984 with Economic Development as a county department. And there have been many different iterations of the Economic Development Commission bylaws over the years. And in tracking back at some point in time, and they are not all dated as far as the copies that I have, the structure was changed from a nonprofit to a public authority within the meaning of State Law Chapter 159. So that's what the current bylaws state, is that our Economic Development Commission is a public authority. So at some point of time, the EDC also had the authority under General Statute 158, which is the general statute that establishes the provision for economic development authorities, to hire and fix the compensation of any personnel necessary to its operations. At that time, the executive director functioned directly under the overall supervision of the commission chairperson, being the EDC chairperson. Going back at least to September 20th, 2012, that copy of the bylaws, the EDC has had the authority to recommend the employment of an economic development director. So the economic development director has reported directly to the county manager, and again has been the director for that department, which currently has 3 employees within it. And those employees all fall within the county structure, within the county personnel policy, and that reporting relationship is through up to the county manager, who then reports directly to the Board of Commissioners. So that has been the setup for at least the past decade, is for the director to report to the county manager. So, currently, again, there's 3 full-time employees. There's a departmental budget of $457,507. And then there's an economic catalyst fund budget of $1.7 million. And within the budget document, that is noted as Economic Development Commission discretionary funding for the purpose of attracting businesses, providing incentives, and other associated activities. And I want to note that because a question has come up over the past week since we've posted the agenda packet. The agenda packet includes some possible revisions to the director's job description, also to the personnel policy and bylaws to support a change in reporting relationship. We have confirmed that under 158, an Economic Development Commission is authorized to hire and set the compensation for staff to carry out its functions. And we have confirmed that our current bylaws state that the Economic Development Commission is a public authority under the meaning of the law. What there's still a bit of a question about is the budgeting authority or the budget authority that has been given to the EDC. And we are still doing some research into that to determine if the way the county budget is structured and the way that the funds have been appropriated are in alignment with the general statute that would allow for a change in reporting authority for the staff within that department. So in working with the county attorney, we've had conversations with the School of Government, legal staff, and they tend to specialize in different areas, so we've kind of worked through the process to be referred to someone else to ask some new questions. So we have not been able to confirm this budgetary aspect as of this morning. Our Chief Financial Officer, Tracy Clayton, is at the Finance Officers Conference this week, and she is going to be speaking with some School of Government staff there. She's also reached out to our auditors, who also had some questions about the way the budget would potentially be set up to correspond to the different reporting relationship. So I provided within your packet that information that the county attorney and I had drafted to potentially support this change, but we do feel like there's a little more information needed regarding the budgetary authority before moving forward with making this change, so that we ensure that if this change is made, that it is that all the provisions of the law are being followed in terms of General Statute 158, conveying this particular authority to the Economic Development Commission. We need to ensure that that commission, which has been functioning as an advisory board for the most part over the past many years, that it is actually exercising the authority under the law that is necessary in order for it to be able to hire and have authority for the personnel. So I also just wanted to mention structures vary throughout the state as far as how these are set up. We have not been able to find an example that exactly mirrors what we're talking about here. And again, we did pull language from the bylaws that were in place here over a decade ago. We found a similar example within Franklin County, but when I reached out to their county manager, he stated they're in the process of changing their bylaws because in practice, the Economic Development Director reports directly to the county manager rather than the EDC. So although that language mirrored, and that's, how we felt comfortable rewriting the current bylaws or updating the current bylaws, we still have some unanswered questions related to the budget piece. So in your packet, you also had an action plan which shows you kind of how the department has been focusing its efforts over the past year or two, and the departmental staff did work with the EDC to create that action plan and has had follow-up in terms of the progress being made towards those goals. And then again, going back to June 16th was when Chairman Puryear had proposed returning to the organizational structure where the director reported directly to the EDC. So we have been working on how that would be defined. So I will be glad to answer any questions that y'all have about what's included in your agenda packet. This is a big change in terms of the way the communication flow, the level of responsibility that's being provided for oversight of the department and the staff. So I do encourage discussion amongst the board and, as far as thinking through all the different aspects of this and what would come out of it in terms of any positives or negatives that we should anticipate and make sure that we address when we do move forward with this change if it is approved by the board. And again, I've got that one question still hanging out there about the budget, so the board may want to consider having some discussion today, and then staff can have some additional follow-up with further discussion at our next board meeting.
Feedback from the board?
I do have some additional things, for what was presented to change. I don't know, Chairman, if you want to move forward with this, decision today, but I think it's good that we go ahead and discuss it so that all the changes are considered. It's okay to go ahead with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in our packet on page 164, the job description, under the summary objective, the first sentence says that the purpose of the position is to perform promotional and consultative work in developing and directing a comprehensive economic development program for Person County. I think that should have added under the direction of the EDC. And under the essential functions section, the third bullet, well, in the, what is in bold, still on page 164, the beginning of the second sentence where it says management may assign additional functions. I think it needs to be clarified that the commission is the management there, so the commission may assign additional functions. And then on page 165, the third bullet says prepares the departmental budget recommendations and establishes yearly goals and objectives. Again, I think that we should have added with input of the commission. On page 166, the qualifications, under special certifications and licenses, I think we should add CECD, NCCED, or advanced degree in training in a related field is preferred. And I want to make sure that by approving this, we're not adopting, say we're adopting this action plan, because what's included here is the 2024, and we have discussed in several of the EDC meetings this year the need to go back to our strategic plan and revisit it, which hasn't happened yet. So I want to make sure by having that included, we're not saying if we adopt this, we're adopting that plan. On page 174, the org chart has economic development under the county manager, and I thought the whole action we were taking here is to move that under the Board of Commissioners, advisory boards and committees. On page 176, Article 2, Section 1 has received from any municipal, county, joint, or regional planning board or commission with jurisdiction within its area an economic development program for part or all of the area. I think county should be stricken there because there's only one county in their jurisdiction, and they would not be receiving a program for that. They would be creating or guiding the program for that. Other than that, there was one other thing that I wanted to, consider. Page 177 addresses membership, and it just refers to the resolution that this board has amended several times about who the members are. And I'd like us to consider making a change through a resolution, amending the EDC for a change in membership, where it has under section 2B, instead of elected mayor or alternate elected official of the Roxborough City Council, I would like to add as appointed by the Board of Commissioners each January. And the reason for that is because, I've shared before that I attend or watch all of the city council meetings, and I've done that for years. And I think when this was put in place, the intent was it's either the chairman of the commissioners or appointee, the mayor or appointee, is to have the person with the most authority on these elected bodies to sit on the EDC unless there's a person they consider more qualified to be on that board. But differing from this board where you, Mr. Chairman, do have a level of authority here and you vote here and you participate in discussions and deliberations, the mayor does not do that for the city council. The mayor does not vote and the mayor does not participate in discussions related to action, from what I've observed. I know that the current mayor has, spoken up during work sessions about, objectives of the EDC and how some of their planning would be impacted. But as they are making decisions about infrastructure improvement and residential growth and approvals, there's no one bringing input from the EDC about those decisions. So I think, it would be more favorable to have a city council member on that board who actually has a vote on the council. And so, again, I'll restate, just my request would be that we go back and revisit that document as well. And for the city council, we add to section 2B as appointed by the BOC each January.
Board members have any questions or, statements on the recommended changes?
Ms. Kathy, when do you expect to have an answer back from the School of Government on the question at hand?
Early this week. I mean, I am anticipating hearing back from a couple of the faculty members, hopefully today. It could cause some additional questions that will require some additional research. That has been the case as we've moved along. And as I said, our auditors had some questions as well.
Well, the change in membership is really a separate item for a separate document. I don't think there was any issue on moving forward with that today if we wanted to.
Okay.
I think you could if you wanted to split the two up. Yes, ma'am.
So I guess what you're proposing is to reword the resolution. So, I mean, I don't have we can do that. We would not have it prepared for the language to be approved today. You could provide direction that we create a resolution and authorize the chair to sign, or we can include it in a subsequent packet with that language revised for review beforehand. Either way.
Is the board given direction for the manager to prepare that?
That's what I would think.
Okay. My only question is, if that is approved, the current mayor has served on EDC, and so I know that she's stepping down after many years of service. That would immediately take her off EDC.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
It would. My question to the board is to make that, if we can make that effective at the end of her term.
Yeah, or we could just make her the appointee until then, but yeah.
Okay.
Either way, that makes.
I mean, either which way on that. Okay. All right.
And also, just to follow up on the org chart, because I want to make sure that that is understood as far as why it is put together the way it is. So as I had explained in previous meetings, the blue boxes indicate that those particular departments have a different appointing authority, or the director reports up to a board. They're all various iterations. So the way that we have this structured in terms of reporting relationships, so 3 of those boards, elections, or 3 of those positions, election, soil and water cooperative extension, currently fall under the assistant county manager position in terms of reporting relationships within the organization. So that means that he does not directly supervise those employees, but they meet on a regular basis so that we stay apprised of what's going on within the department. We maintain that communication, and there are many, they are county departments, so many linkages to what we're doing within the county that need to be discussed on a regular basis, troubleshooting and guidance provided. So that is how I had also envisioned working with the Economic Development Director going forward, as I do with the Health Director. We have regular meetings, and I sign off on her leave request. I sign off on her P-card logs. There are still things that have to be done by a county employee within our organization. So that is why economic development is still reflected on the org chart as being a county department that does fall within the organizational structure for those reasons of communication and coordination under the county manager position, with the certain authority given to the Economic Development Commission.
So if these changes that you and the attorney have made are pulled from other sets of bylaws, I don't understand where this concern is coming from about the budget.
So, and I'm just trying to pull up the statute, Commissioner. So I think at the end of the day, the board is going to be able to make the changes if you want, but the concern we have is we're looking at the statutes. They're a little out of date, and it basically says within the limits of appropriated funds, the commission may hire and fix the compensation of any personnel necessary to its operations, and has some other stuff. And it says within the limits of appropriated funds, the commission may lease, rent, or purchase or otherwise obtain suitable quarters and office space for its staff, etc. So it seems like there's plenty of authority, but what it doesn't say, and where it's a little different, we've talked about this a little bit before, is it doesn't make it explicit that it's over a department the way, say, the Board of Social Services is, or the way the Board of Elections and the Elections Director are laid out in the statute. So because the board is proposing a big change, we just wanted to be very careful to make sure that there was nobody at the school government who felt like this organization was going to create problems. So yeah, I think the manager and I both believe the board has the authority, but we wanted to, before you all voted, have gotten, essentially a clear second opinion on that.
And we do, from an organizational perspective, or want to ensure that we have clearly defined what we're doing, and that we all understand what the expectations are moving forward, because this does change lines of communication. It may influence certain approval processes. It's something that we are going to have to just change as far as the way the director is seeking feedback and direction, and that plays into decisions that are made, how information is shared. So we have an interest in ensuring that that is well defined, and that structure is supported by the general statutes, that we have worded it within our bylaws in a sound way, and that everybody just understands the how we will be moving forward with this change, if it is approved by the board.
But, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I appreciate that, because we think back to, a decision wasn't immediately made when they changed the structure of DSS. And it was a thought out process that took time. And I believe that if this discussion is going on now with economic development, the commission, we should do the same, making sure that we are following what the law says, and checking in with UNC School of Government. I watched that process with DSS, so I just hope that when the decision comes down for this, that the same type of energy is shown and we're not just jumping in to doing this. So that's my thoughts on it. And we make sure it's a well thought out process, and allowing you all to bring back the information, and of course, the information that some of you on the board already have, and taking all of that into consideration before just making a decision.
Okay, so our goal will be to bring that back at the next meeting. So moving on to the Human Services Advisory Committee,
Wait.
oh,
Did,
sorry.
board member, before we jump off it,
Okay.
yes. Did you have any other comments?
I don't know if any other members do.
Okay, just want to make sure. All right.
Okay,
Thank
sorry,
you.
I thought you had already told me to move on. So, Human Services Advisory Committee. There is no legal requirement for the board to create an advisory committee. This board has elected to be the governing board over the Consolidated Human Services Department. If our Consolidated Human Services Department had included the Health Department, there would be a statutory requirement to create a Consolidated Human Services Board, and it is very specific as far as what seats would need to be filled on that board, as far as the specific background that the appointees would need to bring to their seats. But you may want to appoint a separate committee for advisory purposes for social services and veteran services. And it will be up to you to decide how many seats you would want to have on that board, and to approve kind of a charge for that board and set expectations for that particular board. And I did provide an example here. The other department within the state that has consolidated, or the other county that has created a consolidated human services department that does not include the health department, is Cabarrus County. Their department includes social services and a variety of other functions, transportation being one of them. They have a human services advisory, I think they do call it a board, and it says that it is a committee that's appointed by the Board of Commissioners to advocate, advise, and consult regarding services within the Department of Human Services. The board is composed of 5 members who are appointed for 3-year terms. So I just put that out there as a very kind of general reference to what another county has put in place for this purpose for your consideration and discussion today. And if you are in favor of moving forward with establishing an advisory committee, then we can take that direction and work on creating some bylaws to bring back for your approval, and then we can move forward with advertising those seats.
Thoughts?
I'm in favor of it. However, because of my job, I've been notified that it will be a conflict of interest for me, because I am a member of, I work as part of the staff development team with the Department of Health and Human Services, which is the Division of Social Services is under that, and I work in the child welfare section, training social workers to do this work. And I was advised by the attorneys within the Department of Health and Human Services, and also those whose names are on the letterheads, that it would be a conflict for me to serve on that committee, since I am out in the counties providing the training to the agencies.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think this advisory committee would be a group of citizens.
Okay.
So it would not, there would not be commissioners on this advisory committee. You would be appointing citizens who would then be able to advise you all as the governing board for the Human Services Department. So you may decide that they would bring specific maybe areas of expertise to their seats. You could define seats in that way, or you could leave it open, but then consider that as you receive applications in terms of creating, a well-rounded committee with different backgrounds.
So are you able to vote on that, creating the structure?
That was my next question. Would Commissioner Royster, would it be a conflict if she voted on it?
It would not be. As we've talked about privately, Commissioner Royster, the conflict that you have sort of from a legal perspective is because your employer has said there's a conflict. Under the laws for what you as a commissioner vote on, there's not. Now, if you dug sort of deeper in the weeds than voting on the creation of the committee, hypothetically, maybe yes, but I think just what the chairman's talking about, you'd be fine to vote on.
And Commissioner Royster, if you feel comfortable, if you feel like you do need to recuse yourself, this board will accommodate you with that. So, moving forward with this, how many members would we like to have on this advisory committee?
We're capped at 9, right? We can't have more than 9.
I don't think, do we have a limit? I don't think we have a limit on any of our advisory committees.
Well, and because this isn't a statutorily mandated committee, that it's not like, the ones like the manager was talking about where there are specific seats that have to be filled. So it's really whatever size you as a board think is appropriate.
5 is always a good number for a group. Let's go make decisions.
You said Cabarrus has 5?
Everybody in agreement with 5?
Okay.
That's the start. And then, just want to clarify that the full board is in favor of moving forward with this.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, then at your next meeting, we'll bring back a draft, for you to consider with more details around what this would look like.
Thank you.
And so the next piece of this topic is the UDO steering committee. Just need confirmation from the board that that is no longer needed, and we can remove that from our list of committees.
I'm in favor of removing it.
Mr. Chairman, can we please have that in the form of a
We
motion?
will have that in the form of a motion. All right,
I'll make a motion that we remove that committee.
all right, we have a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, the motion's been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 8B, tax collector settlement, Russell Jones.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I have a 2024 tax collector settlement for you this morning. And first thing, what is a tax collector settlement? So I have a few slides for you that kind of go over these. I'll share some numbers with you. It's required by General Statute 105-373. It's basically just a report of what we did in the last 12 months, how we collected the current year, which is 2024 tax year, and what we did on some of the older tax bills that were left with us. So I'll usually break this down in a couple of categories. This is important for Person County because we have such a large state appraised. So you take everything except state appraised, that's your real personal property. You see we collected just a little bit over $30 million in that category, 99.32% collection rate. Public service, which is all your public utilities from your power plants to your gas lines, railroads, a little bit of everything in there. We always have a 100% collection rate there. And the Department of Motor Vehicles always comes in high, and this changed as of 2013 when you used to renew tags, pay your taxes later. You tax and tag together has made this a great revenue source. 99.93, and people often wonder, why do you have 100% collection? Don't you pay your taxes when you renew your tags? Well, every once in a while, someone writes a bad check for the tag renewal, or they can get what they call limited registration plate, which allows you to pay your taxes a little bit later. Or after you buy the car, you can have 90 days to pay your taxes. So it doesn't quite come out to be 100%, but it does get really, really close. And DMV has a great tool. If you don't pay your fees to them, bad check, for example, they can block your registration in almost every state in the country. So they have a tool there that we don't have, but you see we do have a great collection rate. When I combine all these together, in the one category, we have a 99.5% collection rate. Years ago, I'd hoped we would one day see 99. We have 99.5, actually 99.479, so I did round up, 99.497. The next category is a county levy adjusted. I like to explain what that indicates. I like to pull out our bankruptcies just to see if we had a large bankruptcy that hurt our collection rate. We're not allowed to not include that, but it's also a good place to check and say, well, we had a large one, that's why our collection rate's down a little bit. Fortunately this year, we didn't have any large bankruptcies. We had 91 different accounts in bankruptcy, but no large bills. So $81,000 was affected there. They did make payments of $75,000, so not a huge effect there. But if we didn't have any bankruptcies, our collection rate would have been even higher, 99.52. So I'd like to compare the 5 years. Where have we been? Where are we going? How's it looking compared to other years? So 2021, which is my 2020 collection rate, shows the 98.08 for real personal. It breaks all the categories down like it did before. I'm going to summarize all this together so we can see the collection rate year to year. So 99.33, that's my first year that we ever made 99%. Now, the collection rate is a product of all my staff. It's not just my report, and it's not just my collector's report. If an appraiser can't explain a bill, if a person in the personal property can't put the vote on the record correctly, if my mappers can't keep the records correct, then people don't like to pay a bill. They don't understand. So all of my staff are doing a great job of explaining things and making sure that the bills can be explained and collected. So we're 99.33 is the first year we ever broke that 99%. The very next year we dropped below it. Wow, we had there 1 year. That was a large bankruptcy that affected that, and that was paid in the month of July, but we could not count that. So you see the collection rates continue to go up, other than one bankruptcy, with our highest ever at 99.5. So how do we get that collection rate? This is the things we have to do. Delinquent notices, advertising the newspaper. The earlier you advertise the newspaper, the better collection rate. When we send out bills, that's one of the first questions we get. What's the last day to pay before it goes in the paper? Not what's the last day to pay before interest starts, or when's it due? So that's one of the biggest questions. We do garnishments, so that takes part of your paycheck. We always choose the method that's going to be least difficult for the taxpayer and the tax office. So we start off something kind of easy, delinquent notice, advertising in the paper. That's not so harsh. Garnishment is getting a little bit rougher. A bank attachment where they take all funds available. That's we're getting pretty serious there. Escheats is nothing we use. You heard the term death and taxes. It's kind of a funny way of wording it, but escheats is where money is turned over to the state because they couldn't find you, and often it could be a deceased person. We can claim that money to pay taxes. Debt set-off, we can claim your tax refund for the North Carolina Department of Revenue. We always have and always will do payment arrangements. Some people are already drafting for this year's bill. They started in January. We're doing bank drafts for people on fixed income so they can get ahead of the new tax bills. Anybody who is working with us and making a payment, as long as they're not getting further and further behind, we will always work with them. And then the worst case scenario is foreclosure. We have yet to foreclose and kick someone out of a house. These are abandoned properties, estate properties, properties that have been forgotten. So we haven't had to foreclose and remove someone from a home due to not paying taxes. And still we have a 99.5% collection rate. And this kind of breaks down some of the things we collect. We think about the property taxes. Well, we do more than just the current year property taxes. We do prepayments, like I just explained, on drafting and people paying it early. Collection fees, which is anything tied to the tax bill. Stormwater fees, prior year taxes, which is very important. Still got a few animal bills out there, dog tax, cat tax. We collect the fire tax, we collect interest. Beer and wine license, we collect for the city. Overall, we collect $47 million through our door. And that's with myself and 3 collectors. And my collectors are our new staff. They are the ones who did most of the work on the collection rate. They did it because the last 2.5 years I was involved in reappraisal. It took up almost all my time. And they ended up with almost a brand new staff because of retirements and because of other advancements within the office. My most senior collector, David Bratcher, has been there less than 5 years. His best employee, his most senior employee under him is 2 years, and the other position is now vacant. So David, Hunter Patterson, Angie Montague are the one who did this collection rate for us at 99.5%. Another thing I didn't mention earlier, I should have mentioned how we compare with other counties in the state. The state rate is running, and this is a little bit old number because they're reporting their numbers today, but the state rate is running around 99.21. We're at 99.5. The peer rate is counties our size. Our size is 25 to 50,000 population, and we always rank 3 or 4. And the reason out of the 20 counties, the other counties are more the resort counties. Transylvania County always beats us. Dare County always beats us. Montgomery County and us kind of shuffle back and forth for 3rd and 4th position. Don't know where they're going to end up this year. I hope at 9.5. I beat at least McDowell. Dare being a coastal county, Transylvania being a mountain resort county also. It's hard to compete against those guys. This is my favorite slide, and it shows what we are actually probably not going to be able to collect. So we started off in 2014, $28 million that we should have collected. And after 10 years of trying, we have $11,815 that we did not collect. That ends up being 116 bills, 4 100ths of 1%. And we will still collect a little bit of that. We can't collect it as part of a forced collection method, but if you sell that property and you want to clear title, some of those taxes still get cleaned up. So they stay on the books, but we can't force someone to pay that. Going back a couple of other slides, I didn't mention how much money we didn't collect for this year. You see we have that $213,000 for 2024 county taxes that we didn't collect this year. And what's going to happen to that? Well, last year and historically we collect about 50% of that in the next 12 months. This past year we collected 60% of that. So that number at 213 is going to drop down below 100,000 in the next 6 months. But we do a great job of continuing to work on the old stuff while collecting the new stuff. And then the last few slides that you have in your packet just breaks down those numbers in the reports that came out of my software system. Any questions?
Any questions for Russell?
Just commend y'all for continually improving. It's hard to think you'll do it year after year when you're over 99%, and you always do.
I don't think we'll get better and better every year. However, staff continue to amaze me. They're making the hard calls. They're calling people, reminding them that they promised a payment. They're doing everything they can to make it happen. They've been short staffed because of retirements, and they still come in with a 99.5% collection rate. They're amazing.
All right, Russell, you're still up.
I do need a motion to accept the report, if that's okay.
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a motion to accept the report? All right, any further discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it, motion's been approved.
Okay, my next item is the order to collect taxes. I, as a person, have no right to take someone's money for taxes. The board has to give me that right. Order to collect taxes gives me the legal authority to make people pay taxes.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion's been approved.
My final item for the morning is the reappointment of tax assessor. So I was appointed as your tax assessor beginning November of 1998. So my last recent appointment was July of 2021. I enjoy this county. I enjoy my job. We've got a lot of challenges ahead of us with staff retirements. I got 4 that's going to be leaving in the next year and a half. We only have 10 of us. So I'd like to, if the board would consider appointing me for another term, I would like to have the opportunity to build staff and make sure the county's taken care of.
I make a motion to reappoint.
Well, yeah, I mean, you are 99%.
All right. We have a motion to reappoint. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, you've been reappointed.
Mr. Chairman, can you please administer the oath to Tax Collector Jones?
Okay. And where's the,
In your folder on top.
all right, Russell? Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Russell Jones,
I, Russell Jones,
do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and laws
and laws
of the United States,
of the United States,
and that I will be faithful
I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers
and to the constitutional powers
and authorities
and authorities
which or may be established
or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
that I will endeavor
that I will endeavor
to support,
to support,
maintain, and defend
maintain, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of said state,
of said state,
not inconsistent
not inconsistent
with the Constitution of the United States,
with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge
to the best of my knowledge
and ability,
and ability.
and that I will faithfully discharge
I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as Person County Tax Assessor,
as Person County Tax Assessor,
and that I will not
and I will not
allow my actions
allow my actions
as Tax Assessor
as tax assessor
to be influenced
to be influenced
by personal
by personal
or political friendship
or political friendships
or obligations,
or obligations.
so help me God. All right, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank all yours. Fourth.
Thank you.
All right, item 8E, P8 STIP project submittals. Manager, County Manager.
Yes, I would actually like to ask Margaret, our interim planning director, to also present this item. She prepared the agenda abstract and may be able to provide some additional context or answer any questions. I guess I can provide a brief summary and then you can ask either one of us with any questions. But we are going through the process with our RPO, which is the Carter Regional Council of Governments, to create a list of priority projects within Person County that we would like to submit to the Transportation Coordinating Committee for prioritization to send forward to NCDOT to be considered for funding as part of the upcoming state transportation improvement plan. So we have currently have some projects that are in the process of being funded, and those include improvements to 501. Those are detailed in your agenda packets. We also have our runway extension project at the airport that is receiving funding through the transportation improvement plan. We can submit within 4 different categories: aviation, bike and pedestrian, highway, and transit. And included in your agenda packets is a prioritization of the projects that we have been submitting for consideration. Again, within aviation, the extension project is at the top of the list. It is currently funded, so this would just be a confirmation of the board's continuing support for that project. We have also allocated local funding towards a new terminal building at the airport, and we'll revise the description there So that project has evolved over the last year as we've put plans in place for a new terminal building. That is project number 2. And then we've had box hangers on the airport plan for quite a while. So that is listed as project 3 within aviation. With bike and pedestrian projects, we've been working with Durham on the trail connecting Durham to Roxborough. And so there are various iterations of that project that have been submitted in different segments. And those have competed well because those are recognized as important regional projects. So those are ranked according to the way that we submitted them last year and how they were considered for funding. Within highway, you have the project for 501 that's currently in the plan. It is broken into a few different sections. And then we have also submitted continuing 4-laning of 501 from Pollywood north to the Virginia line. And in the past, we've also submitted a project for a 4-lane of 158 from Granville County to Caswell County. So those 2 projects there have not competed as well in the past, but those are on there for the board's consideration if you do want to prioritize those moving forward. And then within transit, PATS has made a proposal to expand our fleet by 1 vehicle for the PATS buses. And if you recall, we're responsible for 10% match for funding those, but we are eligible for funding up to 90% if it's approved to add that additional vehicle to our fleet. So, Margaret, is there anything you'd like to add?
I'd be glad to try and answer questions.
So basically, we're asking you all as a board to, if you were to approve this resolution, we would submit that to CARTAR-COG for consideration. There will be a scoring process where our projects will compete with other projects within our region, and then certain projects will be moved forward to the state.
Board members have any questions?
So I want to just restate the work on 501 Madison Boulevard and make sure that I and members of the board and public understand what's proposed here. So for the segment B, that would be from Hurdle Mills Road to Hardee's. And that's saying that it's funded, and that would be converting from a 5-lane with the turn lane in the middle to a divided median 4-lane. So Hurdle Mills Road to Hardee's, they're saying this is already funded in construction, would start in 2031. And then the next section would be segment A, which would be Walmart to Hurdle Mills Road. And that preliminary engineering is already funded, but construction is not yet funded. But this plan would keep that in the plan as a priority for Person County to continue to seek funding. And then segment C, which would pick up at Hardee's and go all the way to the intersection near Southern States, where it starts as Jim Thorpe Highway. And that is not funded, but this would keep it in the plan to seek funding for the preliminary engineering and construction, again, to take away the 5 lanes and be a divided 4-lane with the median in the center and the turnarounds. And I want to make sure everybody understands that, because we had a good bit of business opposition to that in the past along Madison Boulevard. And for page 206, I would rather see those priorities for highway flipped and have 4-laning 158 from Granville to Caswell be presented as Person County's priority. That would keep 4-laning 501 from Pollywood North in the same middle position. And I've talked to people at all different levels at DOT, including the person who's secretary now, and they have said the traffic counts just don't support the 4-laning the rest of that. And if they do, and when they do, if a project comes to, an economic development project comes, we always considered it would be the mega site that might bring a project that needed that or required that, then it would jump up. But for now, and probably with if the mega site becomes a data center, that wouldn't create the kind of traffic that would, raise that in priority. But if we were able to flip that, it wouldn't move that position anyway. And that would move these 3 sections that we talked about becoming 5-lane to 4-lane into a 3rd position. So I don't know if that's something, I assume that's something we can do. But that would just be my opinion, because that 4-lane 158 goes back many decades, and I've had meetings with the RPO leadership and the 2 district directors that cover Person and Caswell, and they said this would be a good time to do it before that gets really developed and makes it harder to obtain right of way, that it is still in the plan, that there's already been some background work done on it over the years. And, that would give us some relief on 501 to connect us to other areas for economic development purposes.
Commissioner Wilburn, follow up. We were talking about the boulevard and impacting businesses. Are we speaking to is this speaking into eliminating the center?
Yes.
I think that's something that we need to strongly look at, because I think that plan was not very popular when it came out. It was under a different planning director. And me speaking, let me hand you the gavel since I'm engaging in discussion. So, I do not believe that's a priority with this county. I think it's gonna be just more of an inconvenience. So, that's my thoughts. And, I entertain any other discussion around that. But and that is currently ranked number 1, is that right, County Manager?
Yes, and it is already in the process. Those, as stated in the agenda abstract, certain phases are already included for funding. Segment B and part of segment C, or A,
Yes,
sorry.
ma'am.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to let the board know that this list is being coordinated with the city of Roxborough. All those 3 projects are all within the city of Roxborough city limits, and that represents the city's priority. So it's more that we're coordinating with our neighbors than saying that it's the county's priority,
Yes, ma'am.
if you will.
But that may be the city's priority, but I don't believe it's the county's priority. And
Absolutely fine.
so, and by approving this, we're saying that we're in agreement with that.
And we're also not prioritizing the expansion of 158, which is impactful to the county.
Yes. In your discussion with DOT, my understanding was that there was not gonna be any more funding for bypasses to different counties, of which at one time, where Jim Thorpe in Virgilina Road meets, it was to be a connector that goes back out to Southside Citgo area, out there near Antioch Church. My understanding is that's no longer gonna be in a funding, position. And so I think the reason they were talking about changing Madison Boulevard was to do away with that, center lane and do away with some of the traffic lights to move traffic through Roxborough, since it wouldn't be a bypass. So has any of that been discussed, or? I know exactly what you're saying. There's a tremendous amount of opposition from the business people.
Well, I think from countywide residents, just an inconvenience. I mean,
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah,
I'm just
I mean-
thinking, how you gonna move traffic though? How
I
do we
thought it
get
was-
it back to a bypass situation?
I thought it was brought forward because of, for safety. Because of the way people use that turning lane.
well, people are still getting adjusted to this runabout outside here. You, and if you're going up the boulevard and you're trying to pull into McDonald's, take a left in McDonald's, and you're gonna have to go all the way up and turn back around just to get to where, I think there needs to be further discussion with this, if we're saying this is joint with the city, there needs to be further discussion with the city
Absolutely.
to, come to an agreement.
Yeah, I'm definitely in favor of number 3 moving to number 1.
So, I would recommend that, the county manager and all of the parties on the county side to, get with the city and have a further conversation stating where our priorities are. And we wanna be on the same page, but, we want to, our views, our priorities need to be reflected on this.
So for the purposes of this particular resolution and in communicating with Cartar, you would like to see the 4-lane 158 moved up to the number 1 priority under highway.
Yes.
And then the number 2 priority, would that be the segments A, B, and C that are already in the plan, or the 4-laning from 501 to Pollywood North?
4-lane 501 from Pollywood North is, priority. Which section A is the boulevard?
So A, B, and C, let me,
Segment A is Walmart to Hurdle Mills Road.
Okay.
so right now segment B is funded, and that's Hurdle Mills Road to Moorhead Street.
And if
So
I can
that's-
just interrupt.
yeah.
Those projects are not being resubmitted.
Right.
They are already being scored, gonna be scored no matter what this board does. Because they're already sort of in the process, in the hopper with DOT.
Mm-hmm.
So they could be excluded from this resolution completely, and you could just pass a resolution supporting the projects that you support and either not comment on the existing projects or resolve your concerns with Roxborough City at the RPO meetings or something like that, because those 3 projects are gonna continue to move forward.
I would like
That
to
it's
hear.
not a new, they're not a new submittal, they're already in the carryover from last year.
Mm-hmm.
So your only new submittals would be either the 501 north of Pollywood or 158. And some of the aviation and other projects.
I would like to hear from DOT if they would anticipate this serving as the closest thing to a bypass that we're gonna get, that it would speed up the traffic and eliminate more lights.
No, based on my experience in other jurisdictions, DOT will tell you that it is their job to move traffic on their highways. And if that is a challenge for the local jurisdiction, sometimes it's their road. I've heard that in other jurisdictions.
So yes, the way this was written was basically to reconfirm that the 2 projects that are already being funded, being that 501 work within the city limits as well as the airport extension, I had included those on the resolution as number 1 since they are already moving forward. But as Margaret said, it's not absolutely necessary to include those in the resolution because they are already in the works and on the plan. And this is submitting for prioritization for these other projects. I just thought
So
it would be
if
nice to continue the support.
In parentheses, it says, Caswell side is a lower priority for the 158 4-lane. Is that a discussion that's been had with Caswell, or?
That is how it had been submitted previously. So if we want to revise that language, we certainly can.
Because I would like to see us pick discussions back up with the neighboring counties that would be included in this, and see if they would like to make it a priority as well.
And
We can remove that reference. It does not have to state that that's a lower priority.
Okay, so that's not something Caswell said, that's just something that was added.
I'm not sure where that originated.
Okay.
so are we striking the Madison Boulevard 501 project from the resolution?
It doesn't hurt anything, does it? I mean,
I don't think so. But if you truly want to see funding reassigned away from that project,
Yeah,
then we probably really need to open a line of communication with the city of Roxborough and get that information to the NPO so that it impacts the funding going forward. Because, you know, DOT is moving along, assuming that this is a
well,
regional priority.
I've expressed my concern about this to DOT many a times, when they've had, meetings up here about it, so they know I'm already not a fan of it. But, no, I think we do need to, talk with the city, let them know that this is not in the county does not feel like it's in the best interest, and we need to have a direct communication with DOT regarding that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll remove that from the resolution, that project. And then under highway, you'll have one will be 158, and then the second priority is 4 lanes north of Roxborough.
All right. Any other questions? Is everyone okay with that amendment to the resolution? All right.
and then a question about the expansion of the PATS vehicle, is that based on demand?
It is.
All right. Do I have a motion for the amended resolution?
I just want to clarify, would you also like for me to remove the reference to Caswell being a lower priority and just leave it? Okay, do that.
Fine with that. Is the board fine with that? Okay.
Okay, we'll make those adjustments.
All right. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. All right. Item 8F, public records request progress, Brian Hart.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This morning I am before you to follow up on our public records request process. This is some of this information is information that has been shared with you all previously, but certainly we want to make sure that you all are certainly well aware of some of the statutes that also kind of dictate or govern how we approach our public records request process. So a couple of general statutes that I wanted to point out. The first being General Statute 132-1.10b5, which states that no agency of the state or its political subdivisions or any agent or employee of a government agency shall intentionally communicate or otherwise make available to the general public a person's social security number or other identifying information. Identified information is used in this subdivision shall have the same meaning as in General Statute 14-113.20b, except it shall not include electronic identification numbers, electronic email names or addresses, internet account numbers, internet identification names, parents' legal surname prior to marriage, or driver's license numbers appearing on law enforcement records. Identifying information shall be confidential and not be considered a public record under this chapter. And of course, I'm sharing these because they'll have some relevance in future slides, in the subsequent slides. And then the next general statute that I wanted to lift up during this presentation was General Statute 132-1B, which states that the public records and public information compiled by the agencies of North Carolina government or its subdivisions are the property of the people. Therefore, it is the policy of the state that the people may obtain copies of their public records and public information free or at a minimal cost unless otherwise specifically provided by law. As used herein, minimal cost shall mean the actual cost of reproducing the public record or public information. So, following previous conversations that we've had with the board and presentations, one request that was made known to us was the desire to potentially begin publishing public records once we've redacted any information that fell under the confidentiality clauses and protections. And so our process for doing that is that we have to go through and review each request individually for the need to make possible redactions. Then we have been copying or have begun the process of copying the original message or request rather that was submitted by the requester to create a staff-only note so that we retain the authenticity or original message or request. Then we redact any necessary information and then change the record visibility to public. This is all a process that we would follow within the next request portal. And what you see on the, I guess my right, your left perhaps, is an example of a public request that has made or could be made public with redacted information. And so you'll see within the request, and the print's a little fine, so you may not understandably be able to read it, but it does says that I'm an adjuster with NC Farm Bureau in need of an accident report for a motor vehicle collision that occurred on a specified date, and then they went on to include the insured motorist's personal identifying information. And so in this instance, we redacted that information, place redacted, and then of course on the staff side, as indicated in the process, we're able to retain and still view that original request as needed. Another kind of point of emphasis with previous presentations about our public records request process was to explore the potential cost for reproducing records. And so these two bullet points here are just excerpts from the Person County Public Records Request Policy. I won't necessarily read them because you all have access to that policy, but obviously one of the things that aligns with the previous statute that was read, or one of the previous statutes that was read, is that the minimal cost is something that we are kind of bound to. And in the second one, it says that if the request is such as to require extensive use of information technology resources or extensive clerical or supervisory assistance by personnel of the agency involved, or if producing the record in the meeting requests the results in greater use of information technology resources than that established by the agency for reproduction of the volume or information requested. So that would be an instance where we could assess a fee or fines, not fees or fines, but cost for the purposes of producing records in a specified medium. And if you all have any questions on any of these slides, feel free to interject. Another point of emphasis that we wanted to share with you all was the amount of time that the county attorney has spent supporting our response to public records request. And obviously, Attorney Morpheus is here and can elaborate on the slide above.
Yep. And if I can just jump in. So we had about 10.5 hours last year spent. And when you look at my invoices from 2024, those are my best guesses. What we started doing since the board requested is whenever I work on, or another attorney in my firm works on public records issue, we actually break it out. So we're getting a little bit better or more accurate numbers. For 2025, we have about 3 hours. I think it's going to be closer to 20 or more because there's a number of public records requests in the queue that my office is working on. I have, however, prioritized reviewing closed session minutes from this board that have not been reviewed yet, and have only just recently gotten all of those reviewed because, of course, those, once they're released, become a matter of public record and assist with some of our outstanding public records requests. So that time is not included in the public records review, but I expect that number will go up this year, again, just because we have a backlog that we're working through.
Indeed. Any questions thus far?
Yeah, if you can go back to the previous slide. So how is that treated? Because it says requires more than 4 hours of, on the same business day, more than 4 hours for IT, or more than 4 hours of clerical or supervisory. Can that not just be 4 hours total?
Yeah, I mean,
If staff is spending over 4 hours, anybody collectively,
yes, I believe we could amend this policy to reflect whatever the board's wishes are as it relates to how we approach this process. I will say, and this was probably on a previous presentation, the instances in which we are spending, in excess of 4 hours, I mean, it's just they're seldom. It's not to say that they don't occur, they're just seldom in relation to the volume that we receive. But we can certainly amend, this policy to reflect whatever the board's wishes are. And I would also state, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that Michelle Solomon, clerk to the board, has been really instrumental in supporting our response to public records requests over the last several months. She's taken a more active approach and role in that task. So she too can probably present and chime in on this as well.
And I just want to clarify, the way that's worded is that relates to a request on a given day. So it may mean that 4 hours, there may be 2 hours one day and 2 hours another day, but it's related to that single request or a group of requests by the same requestor. So it's related to the request that was submitted, not to the chunk of work that's done on any specific day.
right, but
So,
can
okay.
you start tracking within the system? Okay, IT got it and they spent half an hour on it, and then it went to whatever department and they got it and they spent 2 hours on it, and then it went to whoever was requested of, I mean, cumulatively, 4 hours has been spent on this request, and now we can start to charge.
Yes, we are tracking that now as far as being able to look at IT time and the clerical or supervisory assistance time.
So does this language need to be changed to allow you to do that when you hit the 4 hour mark for any county staff touching it? And not, you gotta wait until it hits IT's 4 hour mark or somebody else's before you consider that time?
I don't know, I'd have to give that a little thought. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. Again, the 4 hours, I think, is just kind of an arbitrary number that we used based on other policies. I don't think there's a general statute. So, I mean, we could, instead of that or there, make it more inclusive. 4 hours total of information, employees' time.
And I'll
Or-
just, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
go
interrupt.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'll chime in, and I think we might have talked about this before, the statute talks about extensive use of IT or clerical supervisory time. And so the manager's exactly right, there's not been a case that defines that, so it's our best guess. So if the board wants to see some revisions, or if we think we need to clarify the policy, I think we have some leeway to do that.
I mean, that may cover it, though. I mean, just thinking about it in terms of 4 hours, either or.
Board members?
I think that should be the practice, whether you think the policy needs to be changed to reflect that or not, but if there's a request that takes county staff 4 hours or more to work on, that's pretty significant.
And again, we're not going to factor in the amount of time that the employee, whoever's responsible for those records, has to spend their time on it. That doesn't fall within the clerical or supervisory assistance category. So it's really if there's additional support needed to fulfill that request beyond what the employee themselves can do is when we would need to charge for that.
You still get to track it if the software allows that
Yeah.
readily, just like you can't charge for the attorney's time, but you track it so we can be transparent and report out to the public. You know,
We are tracking,
This is
yes.
how much it's costing taxpayers for these.
Yeah, we are tracking.
What time frame are we expecting to have an answer back for a public information request from the time it's made till we?
So our policy stipulates we will try to respond within 10 days, but many times it's within the hour, within a day or two for the more simple request. These that are more involved will take longer than the 10 days.
And just to add to that, Mr. Long, sometimes you'll have a requester ask for a really broad set of information. Staff then gets back and says, you know, we'll provide it, but it's gonna take this long. Do you wanna narrow it down? So sometimes there's give and take that makes the process go longer as well.
Generally speaking, there's an acknowledgement of the request fairly early on.
So where are we landing on making this public?
On making the request, like the individual records public. So we have to, you know, as I mentioned on the previous slide, we have to go through each of them individually. And I think, you know, we wanted to kind of share with you all this process before we, you know, really started with that task, with that undertaking. But Michelle and I have both started to essentially revisit some of these requests to see which of those, you know, we could potentially make public. Again, you know, there's a need for some instances for there to be redacted redactions that may, you know, require a little bit more involvement and research and time with us touching the request before we make them public, but we can start that process.
So like this example, where the redaction was made, that had to be done to respond, right?
What do you mean?
That wasn't an extra step, so before this could be the checkbox to make it public
Well-
was turned on, you would have to do that before you made it public, but at some point in fulfilling the request, you've gotta redact that.
Well, so not to respond, because in responding, you're just responding to the requester. And so you didn't have to necessarily make that redaction because they provided the information. So to put out the response, we wouldn't have had to, does that make sense? Like this redaction had to occur if we were gonna make, if in this example, we were gonna make this publicly visible to the rest of, those who have, you know, access to the portal, then we had to redact it. But in this case, we wouldn't have had to redact information to respond because it wasn't information that we were providing that needed to be redacted. It was the information that was in the request itself that needed to be redacted.
Okay.
And then this is just kind of a general overview, kind of an example of some of the information that Next Request has enabled us to track and report. And so if it interests the board, then we can certainly provide you all with, you know, these types of requests, or reports on a regular occurrence. But just wanted to share kind of a snapshot of you know, what a month looked like. So this is these are stats or statistics from the month of June.
I've said before, I don't find these reports helpful because they do include things like that I don't consider a public records request per se, like along the lines of a FOIA request. That's something that the sheriff's office would respond to, expect to have and normally go to their department. I don't know about the other commissioners, but having all that lumped together, I don't find helpful.
Understood. They are all kind of considered, you know, public requests, though, regardless of which office or department responds to it. But certainly your point is taken.
Any other feedback? questions?
So we'll take another look at the policy and see if we feel like that wording enables us to put the 4 hours total and apply that for IT and clerical and supervisory assistants. And then would the board like for us to report similarly to what Brian put on the screen, or a different iteration of reporting? That's one that we can generate pretty much with the click of a button in the platform, but if the board requires a different type of report, then we would need to know what you're looking for, and if you want staff to spend the time on creating a different type of report to send to you related to public records requests on a monthly basis or other frequency.
You shared a report with us maybe time before last when we discussed this. You had it at our place, and it said who had requested it, what the request was, and the date of the request, and, you know, if it had been fulfilled or not. And I found that to be very helpful. I don't know, I mean, if that's something that could be produced quarterly or biannually.
We can look at doing that quarterly as a start, if y'all would like that, and see if you find it useful.
Is the board in agreement with that?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
All right, item 8G, appointments to boards and committees. Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners and Chairman. I wanted to present to you interested citizens for appointments to boards and committees. In your packet, you did receive 4 applications, 1 for environmental health and 3 for opioid. What is the desire of the board for the order that we're going to go in this morning?
One by one.
Okay, so Environmental Issues Advisory Committee, Bob Brower requests reappointment for the Allensville Township. May I please ask the desire of the board?
So, Mr. Vice Chairman, at our last meeting, there was a vote 2-2 tie on it. It was suspended. Motion was made by Commissioner Royster on that.
Had a long thought and listened to all the speakers. Make a motion to reappoint.
Okay, we have a motion to reappoint. Bob, can I address you real quick? And I do appreciate everyone coming and speaking on your behalf, and I know that you're very dedicated, and your committee members are very dedicated to it, and I agree that it's important to have all sorts of different opinions on that. I guess what I can say going forth is when you're meeting or you're having a booth as a committee, you're representing Person County, and so just please keep that in mind. Right. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right. We have the motion in favor. Being that we have a majority, the motion has passed.
So I have that recorded as a 3-2 in favor of.
That is correct.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The next one would be the Opioid Settlement Advisory Committee. There is 1 position available for a citizen at large with lived experience. It could be personal or a family member. We have 3 applications. Shane Amos, request appointment. Brittany Chavis, request appointment. And Stephanie Tippett, request appointment.
All right. What is the desire of the board?
I make a motion to appoint Stephanie Tippett to the Opioid Settlement Advisory Committee.
All right, we have a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion's been approved.
Thank you.
All right. Next item, 8H, designation of voting delegate of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Annual Conference. Michelle Solomon.
Yes, sir, thank you. The North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Annual Conference will take place August 21st through 23rd of this year in Pitt County. with the business meeting taking place on August 23rd at 2 p.m. A voting delegate must be submitted to the NCACC by August 20th in order for Person County's delegate to participate in the association's annual election of officers and policy adoption. I am asking the board to designate Commissioner Wilburn because she is attending the conference as Person County's delegate. May I please ask the desire of the board?
All right.
So moved.
All right, so moved to have Commissioner Wilburn as the delegate. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion's been approved.
Thank you.
Chairman's report. First off, I would like to thank everyone that assisted with the recent flooding at Hyco Lake, from the Sheriff's Department, Public Safety, county officials, well, flooding in general, just and city officials, EMS, state officials for doing. It was a very unfortunate event. I hope I don't have to call the county manager at 1 o'clock in the morning, which did happen, to prepare a declaration for state of emergency. That's something that I really do not look forward to as a chairman. But I do appreciate everyone stepping up, and want to thank Representative Jeffers for pushing to have the governor declare a state declaration of emergency. Appreciate his help with that. But again, just very unfortunate, but we will continue to work on those roads and recover as we, it was just good to see that everyone working together in that moment of emergency. Also want to thank the Hurl Mills Fire Department for inviting me for their unveiling of their new fire truck. It's a very magnificent vehicle. They had a great ceremony. I believe Commissioner Orster was in attendance as well, and so it was very proud of what they continue to do in serving their community. Manager's report.
Okay, so I reiterate what you said about the storm response and the ongoing recovery effort. That has been a great example of teamwork for all involved. And we are continuing to assess the damages. There is a tool available for reporting purposes on the county website. So if someone has property damage that they have not yet reported, they may complete that tool, and we'll log that, and we'll also have someone go out to help with that assessment. So that is available, and we are continuously in communication with the state and providing information to the state in seeking public assistance and individual assistance for those who have been impacted by the storm. Russell's not here anymore, but I do want to congratulate him for his reappointment as tax assessor and commend him and his staff for their collection effort. They have faced a very big job this year with the reval, and in completing that process, also achieving this collection rate for the county. So they are commended for their efforts. I also want to invite all of you and the public to a ribbon cutting this Thursday out at the Rock Athletic Complex. It's at 5:30, and this is for the opening of an upgraded nature trail system. So there's now more accessibility there for mountain bikers, and it's a multi-purpose trail. Refreshments will be provided, and you're invited to bring your bike. Everybody's invited to bring their bike for this family ride following the ribbon cutting. So that will be a nice thing to celebrate this week as well.
Vice Chairman Thomas.
I would like to echo what y'all just stated about the efforts made during the flood. We have an awesome staff with all our first responders, and they all came to bat and everyone made it safely, and that was the main thing. And I want to thank Chairman for making that declaration and opening up the funding so quickly. That's something that a lot of people don't think about, but you opened up that funding real quick, and it's millions and millions of dollars that was lost on that lake. And your fast action, a lot of people are going to be helped by that, and I want to thank you for that. And like I said, just want to commend all the efforts that went on to out that hike.
Commissioner Wilburn?
I echo all that, and I want to reemphasize what the manager said about having people to fill out that information. There was a reception downstairs this morning for the NC State Dean of the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences, and we went down and met with him, and also Representative Jeffers was there, and we grabbed him for this discussion, and he commended our chairman as well for making that declaration so quickly, so that when the state did the same, when the governor did the same, we could be included in that. And he did feel that there could be some funding coming forward, and the main thing that would allow us to receive some of that funding is documenting all the damage, and that also includes businesses and hours spent by volunteer fire departments and law enforcement and first responders responding, cutting trees, and doing all those things. So just want to encourage everybody, residents, business owners, and county staff to complete that information, and to thank Tom or whoever is tracking that now. That was a great report that was shared with us of what's already been tracked. We had the Airport Commission meeting for the quarter since our last meeting. The environmental assessment continues for the runway expansion. Access road rehab will move forward. We continue to look at ways to expand and increase revenue out there and seek other grant funds. The EDC met. We continue to plan the leadership summit and set a target date for that in October, which would follow the municipal election, so as also to include city council. And we discussed the proposed changes that in the structure that we addressed partially today, and also attended a ribbon cutting for the park across the street at Sandsbury, as well as the planning board meeting.
Commissioner Royster?
I echo pretty much what everyone else has said. Everything I have written down, someone has said it. But again, I'd like to commend everyone who actually, some helping those the flood, putting themselves, their own lives on the line with some of the stories I've heard, and showing how real community is here in Person County when there's a disaster. It's not just my community. Everyone comes together to help each other out in whatever way they can. Again, echoing what Chairman Pereira talked about, and out of Hurdle Mills, that was my first unveiling of a fire truck, and I think I was just excited as some of the kids and other people were there. I was taking pictures with the truck and everything, but just to hear like the hard work that goes into what they do, and volunteer fire departments who are sometimes the first ones there when things happen. So that was exciting. I also attended the ribbon cutting of the 88 playground at Sandsbury. I actually went out on a tour of the Centennial Park with John Hill, because I had rode by it, but he actually took me and explained what was going on there, and that was really informative, and I'm really excited about that, and it was beautiful so far. Also, was one other thing. I volunteered at the food distribution at South Elementary School, where you had our local farmers. Everything in that box that these families received, they had to go through different tables, and get a card punched. But the box included beef from a local farmer, corn, like fresh vegetables, all from Person County. I think the only thing in that box that did not come from Person County were eggs from Orange County, right across the line. But it was exciting to see
people from all over Person County there, and the children learning about farms here in Person County, and the families receiving those goodies in their box when they left. So there are a lot of good things happening here, and I just hope we all just continue to support each other. But again, I commend everyone for what they did in helping everyone impacted by the flood here in this community.
Commissioner Long.
Well, being involved in fire departments and EMS for a long time, did you help push that fire truck into the station?
I did
You
not.
don't back it in, you push it in. Did you help push it in?
I did.
That's
I
the
took
tradition.
pictures.
Okay, I would like to thank Chairman Pryor and Representative Jeffers too. Experience does count. And getting that emergency declaration right away was very important. And Representative Jeffers talked about it this morning, about how proud he was that you got that on there and got it done. So we appreciate your leadership. And I am impressed by how the board works together. Everybody works together, and when we don't always agree on everything, but when you walk out the door, we all support what we agreed to do as a group. I know our inspection department head Dale Tillman took a lot of grief last week on Facebook about the inspections of the boathouses and docks at Hyco Lake, and he's doing the right thing, and I want to support him. But I have a question. I do think it's important that they file for a permit and that the inspection is done, but do we have to charge that permit in this disaster situation? Is there some way we can not assess that $75 fee, or?
Would that be a decision of the board to waive the fee under certain circumstances?
That's what I was gonna say, is Mr. Tillman couldn't do it, and I wouldn't want this board doing it for one person, but if you have a class of people, like folks affected by the storm, the board could vote to waive it in limited circumstances.
That's just something I'd like for us to consider. I'm not saying do it right now, but I'm saying we need to consider it, and if we decide to do something, we could always reimburse the people that already paid, but we need to maybe take a look at that.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
I can report back to you all on an updated report as far as the damage assessment, and what we're seeing in terms of permits coming through for your consideration.
Okay, and I would like to see us get back on that Freedom of Information Act request. We get back to them as soon as possible, like you're doing. But I just would like to reiterate that. Thank you.
sure. All right. All right, do I have a motion to go into closed session? Closed session number 1 per General Statute 143-318.11A3 for the purpose to consult with the county attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, and General Statute 143-318.11A1 to prevent disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential with the following individuals permitted to attend: County Manager Catherine Cathy, Clerk to the Board Michelle Sullivan, Assistant County Manager Human Service Director Brian Hart, and County Attorney T.C. Morphus Jr., followed by closed session number 2 per General Statute 143-318.11A3 to preserve the attorney-client privileges to discuss Person County v. Yarborough, Person 25 CBS 290, and Borough versus Person County, USDC NCMD 125 CV 376, and other matters with the following individuals permitted to attend: County Manager Catherine Cathy, Clerk to the Board Michelle Solomon, and County Attorney T.C. Morphus.
So moved.
Mr. Chairman, just for the public record, we're also gonna have a brief update on the pending Duke Energy certificate for public convenience and necessity matter pending before the North County Utilities Commission.
So noted. All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We're now in closed session. We're now back in open session. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, I have a motion to adjourn. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Meeting has been adjourned.
Anything else from you, Catherine?